afternoon, everyone. We are ready to begin this afternoon's board meeting, but before I do this, I'd like to welcome the principals that are present here this, there's 5 of you, right? Yes, hello. Keep forgetting anyway, well, welcome. I'm glad to see all of you. We don't see each other very often, but when we do see each other, I'm glad to see you all. I hope they are too. Okay, so having said this, it is now 6:01 p.m. and I call this meeting of our Independent School District to order, that the records show that a quorum of board members are present, that this meeting has been duly called, and that notice of this meeting has been posted in accordance with the Texas Open Meetings Act, Texas Government Code Chapter 551. Please stand.
If you'll please bow your heads. Loving Heavenly Father, we thank you for the gift of this gathering and for bringing us together. Unite our hearts and minds in common purpose, granting us wisdom to work together effectively and humbly to value each other's perspectives. Guide our discussions and decisions that they may honor you and serve our shared goals. Lord, we thank you for the principals and staff that are present here this evening. Continue to watch over us and just guide us, Lord. We thank you for all the celebrations that are out there with our students. We thank you for grandparents that have attended all the festivities. And Lord, just be with us in all that we say and do, and watch over our beautiful community of La Feria. Amen. I pledge allegiance to the flag
of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Under the Texas flag, I pledge allegiance to thee, Texas, one state, under God, one and indivisible.
Thank you, Mrs. Johnson. And do I have a motion to approve the minutes of August 11th of 2025 and August 19th of 2025?
Madam President, I make a motion to approve the minutes for August 11th, 2025 and August 19th, 2025.
Sorry, I have a motion by Mrs. Johnson. Do I have a second?
Second.
And I have a second by Mrs. Montalvo. It's been moved and seconded to approve the minutes. All those in favor, raise your hand or say aye.
Aye.
You have to raise your hand.
Thank you. All those opposed, same sign. Motion carried, 5-0. This is an open meeting on the proposed tax rate for the school year 25-26. It is now 6:04 p.m. and we will close the open public meeting. And we will close the open public. Continue, Mr. Santana.
Thank you, Ms. Castillo. Good afternoon, Board President Castillo, Board Members present, Superintendent Torres. So we'll be having a public hearing on the proposed tax rate for the school year 25-26. I'll be going over some information, and at the end, if there's any comments or questions from you all and for the audience, we can address those. And we can go on to the first slide. I just wanted to start off with a bond election fact sheet that, it's still posted on our website. This fact sheet was posted, I believe, since early February when the district decided to go out for a bond in May. Really, there was only a couple of things that I wanted to address here. Really, it's just, these are the projects that you all went out to the taxpayers and asked for them to vote on. So, we just wanted to remind everybody, the community, that these are the projects that we will be working on. We can't deviate from them. These are the ones that we'll be addressing. And then at the very bottom, from the beginning, based on calculations and some estimates, we've told our taxpayers that we were expecting to see about an increase in our tax rate of about 7.62 cents. And that's what we talked to them about at the town hall meeting that we had a couple weeks ago. And so that's really one of the key information that I wanted to take from the bond fact sheet. If we go on to the next slide. So this is the proposed tax rate for this coming school year. Before I get into the tax rates, I wanted to look at the bottom chart there. Just a lot of times we hear some of these years, we kind of use them interchangeably. So I kind of wanted to make sure that we all know what we're talking about, or if somebody's talking to us about something in particular. So for example, right now we're talking about the 25-26 school year. So sometimes like when we talk about the audit or the fiscal year, it's the fiscal year 2026. But then for tax year, it's tax year 2025. So I know that Ms. Sotos and I were talking about last time, and I was saying, yeah, the tax year 2025. And, you know, sometimes we can get that a little bit confused. So again, just a chart for us to know. So the proposed tax rate that we're bringing, it would be an M&O tax rate of 0.7495, an INS tax rate of 0.281183. So the total tax rate per $100 of valuation would be $1.03, 30683. So we compared exactly to last year. Last year's tax rate was 0.95, 6030. So it increased about 7.4 cents. And that's again what I wanted to show you, again, since based on our calculations, that's something we were estimating. We were hoping it would be a little bit lower, but I'll get into it a little bit, due to compression on the M&O side and with the increase in the homestead exemption, which I'll also talk about. If you see right there, the M&O tax rate compared to last year, 24-25 to 25-26, it only went down 0.005, so it went down half of a penny. So we were expecting it to go a little bit more, but again, because of some of these other things due to legislation, that pretty much stayed the same. So we go on to the next slide. This is the notice that we posted in our newspaper, in the Lafayette newspaper. We posted it a couple weeks ago, in accordance with statute, so we have to post it at least 10 days before we have this public hearing. And again, this one, it's a lot of information to look at, and I gave all of y'all a little packet to go by. So right now, we're on the third slide there, and I did kind of highlight some of the things that we wanted to look at. So I'll be going back and forth from this notice to what we're talking about. If we can go into the next slide. Yes, ma'am. I kind of just wanted to show a history of our tax rate for the last 10 years. All right, so again, this is the proposed tax rate that we have, which is $1.03. Last year was about 95 cents and so forth. If you notice, starting in the school year 22-23, from that point forward, it's been going down, quite a bit. And that was due to legislation, trying to give taxpayers a tax break. But that, of course, with increasing tax values and things like that, it's a little bit hard to see. But before 22-23, as you can see, our tax rate was, around $1.29, $1.25, $1.20, and so forth. So it's always remained pretty steady. Again, the last few years has been due to legislation. And if we go on to the next slide, it's really just a chart showing the same tax rate for the last 10 years. Next slide, please. So this is just the truth in taxation form. Really what I wanted to talk about is, the board designates an officer. Usually it's a CFO. You guys do a board resolution, and this is one of the forms that we have to work on. We have to calculate several tax rates. And the reason I'm bringing that up is because, once you all do, there's a specific statutory language on there when y'all make the motion to adopt the tax rate, and then there's a specific language that we'll have to post on our website. And that's gonna be based on percentages. And I know that it might get a little bit confusing to, your average taxpayer that doesn't see this language every day, so that's why I wanted to talk about. So the truth in taxation form is something that we work on. As we go on to the next slide. These are some of we have to work on 7 tax rates, right? So we look at data from last year, the certified values from the county appraisal district from last year, everything that was adopted last year, and then for this year, we look at the same thing. We look at the certified values that we get from the CAD. We get those in July, mid-July. And then we also have to look at what TA does. So how I was talking about earlier about the M&O not really changing? That one is pretty much, dictated by TA. TA is the one that dictates that M&O tax rate based on compression. So really I would say the only say-so that we have is more on the INS side. So these are some of the tax rates that I'll be talking about, like the maximum compressed rate. And I won't get too much into detail, but it's just so that, our community knows, okay, where are we getting these numbers from, and how are they getting these percentages of increases and so forth. Go on to the next slide. So here's what I wanted to talk about also, more than anything. Actually, can we go a couple more slides? Next one. Oh, it's not on. We had quite a bit more slides. So really, the main focus that we wanted to talk about here was that a lot of times our taxpayers are not aware of what other entities tax them. And I think it's very important for us to make it I guess make a public announcement that it's very important for them to look at their property tax statement. These are two actual tax statements from some of our community members out there. All of this is public information. And if you see on there, for the most part, and these are single resident family homes. Because again, we tax many different entities, but the bulk of the property taxes that we collect come from single family residents. And so if you can see right there, for the most part, there's always the same 4 or 5 entities that tax you, which is the school district, South Texas ISD, where there are 4, almost 5 pennies, the city of La Feria, and then the county. So if you see right there, out of all of them, the school districts are the only ones that the homestead exemption applies to. Not for the city, not for the county or the colleges, it's only for school districts. And it doesn't apply for South Texas ISD because they're a little bit more, their entity's a little bit different, the way they're set up. And the whole purpose of this that I wanted to show is that the state has been giving us, some tax breaks for school districts. So in this case, for example, in this home, you see right there, it's a home that was valued at $133,000, right? And so they qualify for the homestead exemption, so they're only gonna get taxed at $33,000. And so this was at last year, right, at the 0.95 cent. So for the district, they paid $323 taxes. But if you see all the other entities, like specifically like the city and the county, because they don't get the homestead exemption, they get taxed at the full tax rate. If you notice in this particular case, a lot of times our taxpayers might be paying more taxes, to the city and the county than what they actually do to the school districts. And I know that sometimes that's a huge, misconception or misunderstanding. We do have the highest tax rate, but that's why the state has been increasing the homestead exemption. Since 2019, it's gone up from 25,000, we're already all the way up now to 140,000. If you go to the previous slide. See, this is a home that was valued at $250,000. This home also qualified for the homestead exemption. And so here, once you take away the $100,000, which again, this is based off last year, this home paid about $1,400 for the district, but when it comes to the city and the county, for the city, they paid $1,800. And so I kind of wanted to show, I think I gave you all a little scenario, if you all look for, it's almost towards the end, the one that's in green and blue. So it's in the papers that I gave you, it's almost towards the end, it's in the green and blue. And so really there, what I wanted to show was, property values have been going up. On average, they went up about 10% this year, right? So for example, this example that I used, the $250,000 value home, this one right here, let's say that it went up 10% in value, it's now at $277,000. But however, now with $140,000 homestead exemption, they're actually gonna pay about $40 less than they did last year towards the school district.
Because of more exemption.
It gives them, yeah, exactly. Now if we look at the other example that I used, the $133,000 home, let's say that their home also goes up the average of about 10%. And with the increase in the homestead exemption to $140,000, they'll actually be paying about $250 less. So they'll actually be getting a tax break from the district. Even though the district, again, we have the higher tax rate.
I have a question.
Yes, ma'am?
Some people don't know that they have to go apply for this homestead exemption, correct?
That's right, and that was the next point that I was gonna get to, right? So for example, as I mentioned, there's many entities that we tax, right?
Right.
Again, the bulk of it is our single family resident homes.
Right.
We also have, for example, telecommunications like across the street, railroads, gas stations, businesses. But for example, here for the district itself, we have about 5,800 single family resident homes. Out of all of those, according to the CAD reports that we get, only 2,800 have the homestead exemption.
How many?
2,800, so it's about half,
Oh,
50%. So that, it raises a couple of questions, right? It says, well,
Right.
do the other 2,800 homes, do they not qualify for the homestead?
Okay.
And it could be a couple of things, right? So I think that's why it's really important for us to kind of, talk about it and make people aware of it. The best thing to do is to contact the county appraisal district, right? So they can see if they qualify for it. But some of them might not qualify for it. For example, if they're renting it out,
A rental home,
it's not considered a primary home, so they don't qualify for the homestead exemption.
right.
And in other cases, a lot of times, it could be that they just haven't realized that they do qualify for it. So it's important for people to go and look at it, And in some areas, you might not qualify for it, depending on the values of the surrounding homes. Yeah, some areas don't qualify for the homestead exemption, but for the most part, the majority of our homes do qualify for it. I think it's important for us to get informed, go do the application, and depending on at the time that you do it, they might even be able to give you a refund for I think it's 1 or 2 years back. So that was really the point that I wanted to make here. Again, especially right now that we passed, we just passed a bond, so we are adopting, a tax rate that's a little bit higher. A lot of times, we get that, I'm paying most of my taxes to a school district, but I tell people to really look at their property tax statement and to see where am I really paying my taxes to. And a lot of times we kind of oversee it because a lot of us have mortgages, so it kind of gets embedded in our monthly mortgage payment, it goes into our escrow. But the county will still send you your preliminary values around April, see if you want to protest them. And then whenever your mortgage company does pay your taxes, eventually you do get a bill, you'll get a receipt in the mail. And they say, hey, we've paid your taxes, this is where we apply them to. So that's just something that we wanted to take a look at. Another thing that I also wanted to talk about is, and I think it's on your forms, if y'all look at one that says worksheet for determination of steps, it's a little bit like this. And really that one is just, based on the language that the board will have to use today to adopt the tax rate. It's gonna say something along the lines that we're adopting a tax rate that's, 17.11% higher than last year's, no new revenue. And that's where it starts getting a little bit tricky. And so really what I wanted to talk about there is the reason for that language, and that's statute, meaning that that's something that we can't change the wording on it, that comes from the Texas tax code. So what the state is saying is they're saying that what would the district's tax rate look like this year if we adopted a tax rate where we collected the same amount of taxes from last year. So if we would have collected the same amount of taxes that we did last year, our tax rate would have been around 88 cents. But of course, that doesn't take a lot of things into consideration, right? That, well, we would like to collect a little bit more because inflation keeps going up and operations cost, things like that. So those are some of the things that are a little bit of our control, but that's the motion language that'll come on there. And then the one that we'll have to post on our website, it'll actually say that our M&O tax rate is gonna go up by 4.62%. And so people's taxes are gonna increase by -$5. So it's a little bit kind of tricky to understand. And the M&O one, that one I think it's a little bit unfair because like I was saying earlier, the M&O tax rate is completely controlled by the state. When we do the maximum compress rate, they tell us you have to adopt an M&O rate between a floor and a ceiling amount. So it's kind of, it's a little bit unfair, I think, in my opinion, it's a little bit unfair. They make us do that language when really they're telling us what tax rate to adopt on the M&O side. Other than that, I don't know if there's any other questions or comments on the tax rate.
Not a question, more like a comment. Basically, we're encouraging the public that if they do qualify for the homestead, that they go apply for it. It's not automatic. And another exemption that applies to me would be the over 65. And I didn't know about that exemption. I found out about it by mistake.
Yeah.
So I wouldn't apply for it too.
That's right, and you can get both. So for example, the one for the elderly and the one for the disabled, for the longest time it was $10,000. It's gone up to $60,000. So it's a significant amount, $50,000.
Just say over 65.
And so, but the whole point is that the $50,000 there and the $40,000 the homestead exemption, that's $90,000. That a lot of people, but yeah, I think the main point is you have to apply for it.
You have to apply.
It's not automatically given to you.
Any questions?
Sorry about that.
Mr. Cespedes? Any questions from the public to Mr. Cespedes or from the board? Okay. Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Excellent presentation.
Thank you.
It is now 6:20 p.m. and we will close the open public meeting and reconvene to the regular scheduled board meeting. Public comment, do we have anyone that has signed up for public comment? No one for public comment. The first information item is Superintendent Performance Goal 1, Activity 1 and 2, student growth in reading in math, science, and social studies.
Thank you, Board President and Board members. So tonight, I am reviewing Goal 1 of the Superintendent Performance Goals, Activity 1 and 2. This goal specifically talks about growth. And so we know that there's a lot of data that we look at. Accountability is all about how many get approaches, meets, and masters, how many distinctions we get. But what we look at to really make a difference in order to increase the number that gets meets and masters is we've got to look at growth. In order to get the students that are failing to get to approaches, we have to look at growth, and we have to look per student. And I know the principals know that what we're talking about here. So you can see, if you look at the next chart, I gave you a piece of paper that looks a little bit different, because on the right side, I put some things in blue ink that basically said, I'm gonna use example of fourth grade reading. So fourth grade reading as a district, we tested 192 students, 154 students showed growth. So we know that approaches, we have low and high. And then, I'm sorry, let me go back down one. When a student fails, we have low failure and higher failure, but they both fail. But if I go, and I'm using this as an example, if I make a 18 and I jump to a 38, I still fail, but I jumped over a year's growth in academics, then that is considered growth. I get a student in my class, they came to me low in fourth grade. I don't get them to pass, but I moved them over a year in what I did in my classroom. And then you have the same thing for the approaches. You have low approaches, high approaches, and then meets and masters. So if you look, for example, at fourth grade, 85% got approaches or better in domain 1, but 80% grew. That means we had 5% of students that did not grow. They either maintained, stayed the same, or they decreased. If you jump down and you look at 8th grade, for example, 8th grade reading, 79% passed, 75% had growth. Look at English 1. English 1, we had a 60% passing rate, but 68% grew. So that means we had a lot of students that grew, that still failed, but they went up a year or more of growth. And so that's what I wanted to talk about that we are doing there. I also gave you a sheet very similar to this. So in the summer, the first thing when the principals come in is I give them scores by teacher. And this is something Dr. Kadu gives me, and she shows me, I meet with Rosie, for example. She has every 3rd grade and every 4th grade teacher, and they look at teacher A, in her domain 1 would have been an A, teacher B would have been a C, teacher C, all the way down. But that just shows me what the students made on that test. It doesn't show me whether they grew. So then we get another document that shows per teacher. So I have Mrs. Jones, and Mrs. Jones made a 55. And so she was an F, for example, on campus. But then I look at her growth, and Mrs. Jones had an 85% growth. That means she had students that were very low, and she brought 85% of those up a year or more. So this particular goal today is looking at, Cindy, how, y'all asked me, how do you look at every single student and make sure every student moves forward? So this particular teacher, we looked at an example today. I met with a couple of board members that were asking me, and it looks similar to this, and this is very busy looking. But this particular teacher, it shows this particular teacher had 29 students that went down. You had 14 students that stayed the same, and 23 students that increased. So overall, had 59% passing. Or 59% growing. TIA is all about growth. You can have an excellent observation, but if you don't get those students to grow, you're not gonna get that funding. And that's why the state has put money into that, because they want performance to be associated with bonuses and things that a teacher gets. So you saw the math, you saw the English language arts. I do wanna look at the social studies and science. Social studies and science, we don't have growth like we do reading and math, because they don't test every year. So what I shared with you here, fifth grade, we know that from the previous year, fifth grade, they went up 30 points. But we don't have anything else to say if those students grew. For eighth grade, what we looked at is, I can tell you as eighth graders, they took the test in fifth grade back in 2022. Is it exactly the same students? No. Some have moved in, some have moved out. Probably, if I had to guess, it would be 80–85% of the same kids, but there are gonna be some changes. But if you look at from fifth grade to eighth grade, you can see that we had a +6 in approaches, -1 in meets, and -1 in masters. So apples to apples almost, because it was the same students for the most part. Teachers can get, again, the growth tracker, and it's not gonna show growth, but they can say, David took the test in fifth grade and made this, David took the test in eighth grade and made this, so I can track each one of the kids that took it last year to find out, in Mrs. Jones' class, how many of her students went up from where they were in fifth grade, rather than looking at it holistically. Then if you look at biology, biology is a little bit, probably more than 80–85%, because they go from eighth grade to their freshman year. And so in biology, you can see from what they took the test in eighth grade to biology, they improved quite a bit. You know, it makes a big factor also when they know they have to pass that test in order to graduate, but that is one of the examples. Social studies, again, eighth grade, we have nothing to base it upon except for 1 year to another. So what the principals do there is they just evaluate the scores and make instructional decisions at their campus based upon that. But you can see in US history, the US history students back in 2022, they were eighth grade. It is the first part of US history and the second part of US history. It's not the same content, but it continues, but that same group went up about 32% in meets and 9% in masters. So that is how we look at growth. And so I think principals probably, yes, they look at domain 1, but they probably look at progress even more, because it's important to me. I don't want a student that's at masters and get to approaches and I could say, well, I had 59% pass. But I had a student that was at masters and dropped down to approaches. But if you just look at my domain 1 passing, you're gonna think I did very well. And I might have had all the students go down. Or the same thing, if you just look at passing and you say she got 70% passing, but I might have had 98% growth. So growth is very important. So this particular item or goal for the superintendent is all about growth. And so this year we talked about every student moving forward. It is the goal that when we go to the campus to find out, and growth trackers, and every principal does it differently, how we're going to make sure from last year's test to benchmark 1 to benchmark 2 to the actual test, are they moving in the right direction? Questions?
If you look at, I guess one of the things that worries me is the approach, and I know we're not talking about that, you're talking about growth. But as they're growing, I guess my concern is if we have a whole bunch of kids on approaches, are we as a district equipped to provide that resources? Because we want to get them out of approaches. I mean, you know, approach, if you look at anything that TEA puts out, it's an area that's going to require a lot of support. And somehow we need to, yes, look at growth and what have you, but let's get a lot of approaches.
And growth will do that, because if you're going to get them out of approaches, if they stay in approaches, you're not gonna grow. And so if they stay in approaches, then your growth is going to, and you're gonna be able to tell that by looking at
But
every
wouldn't they grow
interteacher.
wouldn't they grow within approaches? I mean, it's still staying approaches.
But if you stay, there's low approaches and high, if you stay at a low, then you don't grow. You can't stay in a level. So you can't stay at low approaches the following year, because it's gonna show 0 for growth, that you have no growth. Now, if you go from low approaches to high approaches, it's gonna show growth, but then the next year, you have to go to meets. And if you don't go to meets, it's gonna show 0 growth. So the whole purpose is by the time they get to 4th grade and they move along, they should be getting to that master's if we're moving them every year one notch.
And did I worry about the math? Now I understand why in the 8th grade, why, we had a whole bunch of students who couldn't do the TSI. You know, we have, you know, the growth that you're showing, like say for example, in the 8th grade, we have 139 students and only 98 showed growth. And then the 50% over here is what, Cindy?
50% of them passed, but 71% showed growth. So even though only 50% passed, 21% more showed growth. So maybe they went from low failures to high failures. They had a year's growth, so we're hoping now when they go to Algebra 1, because they had that growth. That's why growth is so important, because it's showing that those particular teachers in 8th grade got this group of kids, and they moved them this far.
Well, I'm kinda glad they're gonna do away with STAR, because what I personally prefer is to see, and you know that about me, that, you know, the same cohort, see them growing, because if they're growing as a group, obviously the students are growing, but we're going like from one year to another year, and really, in my eyes, I don't really see the progress that I would like to see, and come to find out in the 8th grade, all of a sudden, you know, I mean, they didn't do well in their math. And the other question I had is, why is the math 139 number of students, and then for the reading, it's 177? Why is there a difference in number of students?
And ma'am, if I have to glance at that, that has to be an error. I'll look at that. I might have to send that to you, because that doesn't make sense either.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'll double check that.
Uh-huh.
Oh, yes, you got it. That's it, because they take Algebra 1.
That's what I thought.
Because you know how you have 8th grade students, that we had 139 that took math, and then the other students took Algebra 1 in 8th grade. Thank you, Mr. Zambrano.
Yes, ma'am.
So the other students that are not there are part of our Algebra 1 numbers. Because they take Algebra 1. Like you mentioned today, your grandson takes it in 7th grade. He will not be on 7th grade data, he will be on Algebra 1 data.
And Algebra 1 data is what, 8th graders?
They start out in the area as 8th grade. And freshmen.
Oh, freshmen are included in this, in the
Yes.
168.
Freshmen and 8th grade.
Those that took
Those-
8th grade
yeah.
math are now taking algebra as freshmen. And those that
As-
took algebra 1 as 8th graders are now taking the next advanced math as freshmen.
Algebra 2, yeah.
You have a comment? You were
Yes.
probably telling, yes, that's it.
So, what I was thinking was, back in 2021, when we received the ESSER funds were allocated to help us, you know, and, with this, you know, with our scores. And as I recall, it was gonna take us 6 years, basically, to catch up from what happened during COVID. I believe we are now in year 4, almost year 5. If I recall correctly, back in 2021 or 2022, I think our score was 33% in the math. And so looking at this, if we are at 65%, I mean, we're doing what we were supposed to be doing, you know, considering, you know,
How low?
and we still have another year, you know, year and a half to go.
One of the things that the state did also, and it's been a big change for our teachers, is all the way down, completely changed the curriculum that we have. And now we use Bluebonnet. So we used to use many different, and I don't wanna say them here, but we used to use different curriculums that are no longer accepted by the state. So our teachers now are using a
Having to
brand
learn.
new curriculum that they're getting used to, but it's supposed to align the state, because you have 2 choices on curriculum, either Bluebonnet or one other that I can't remember the name. I don't know if y'all remember it. But 2 different ones, most of the people are choosing Bluebonnet. So we'll see, the state saying this is the curriculum that we think will make a difference
Will help.
with all the students. And so TEA put it out there, we're getting professional development with the Strong Foundation grant of $200,000. All of that money with Region 1 is coming in to support our campus teachers in the math area. So we'll see how the impact that that has as well. So there's
So,
a lot
I
of
think-
different factors when you talk about resources
Yes.
that are happening now. The PD, that's another reason we have every 6 weeks a PD day, because every 6 weeks Region comes and they meet with our math teachers to go over the curriculum for the next 6 weeks.
And back to the growth, if a child was masters, what is it?
Masters.
Masters 1 year and masters another year, that child doesn't count for growth, am I correct?
Right.
I believe
still
if
grow?
they stay masters, they get the point.
Oh,
They still get the point
Oh,
because
okay.
they're at masters. Now, if they go down to meets, you
No,
don't.
of course, that makes
But
sense.
if they
Oh,
stay
that's
at
good.
masters, the state, because they're staying at masters,
You
is
still get
giving
a
them
point
that
for
credit, because
growth.
you can't go any further.
Right. Oh, okay,
Yeah.
that's encouraging.
So I want you, you know, as we go through, know that, you know, we do discuss this. The principals are meeting all the time with their campuses to talk about growth, talk about going from felling to approaches to meets to masters, for every student. Because if not, then we're not showing and doing what we need for our kids.
Good job, principals.
Yes, thank you.
Good presentation, Mrs. Torres. Any questions of Ms. Torres? The next item is the Feria ISD Board Operating Procedures. Mrs. Montalvo?
Yes, I asked for this, for two reasons. One, and I just, addressed it with Mr. Rubin during the, earlier. I believe one of the, legally, we have to, vote either verbally or by raising our hands, and that is just to show that, you know, who is in support or who is not. So, you know, for the rest of the board members, you know, it has to be visible now by law, you know, so we need to make sure we're clear on that.
And I know one of the biggest thing is, Monica can't put 7050. She has to put all
The
the
name.
names of for,
Yeah.
or abstain, or against.
See, and I know, one time I happened to just go into the Mercedes Air Board meeting last year, and they go individually. Like, Juan Bidones, how do you vote? Mr. Zambrano, how do you vote? And so on. And to me, that's very time consuming, so I just rather we just say this or say aye, whatever. As long as Monica knows, so that when
I
she
can
writes
write
the
it down.
minutes, she knows that, I may say,
So we don't have to.
No, you do.
you have.
It has,
No, but if nobody says no, then it's obviously everybody voting yes for it.
Because they consider that abstaining.
yeah, that you're not.
Yes.
Yeah.
Even though we don't verbally say I'm abstaining from this vote,
Right.
that should be automatically saying we vote for it. Unless I say I'm gonna abstain from this vote prior to the vote.
I think she has to write that down, that you have to abstain.
Right, if
So
we
you're
are
saying if
abstaining,
you
but
don't
if we
vote-
don't say anything, then that should mean that we're all voting.
Right,
Right, and so if nobody says no, then that means it's a four.
right, but I still have to say all.
But you still have to raise your, it has to be visible.
You want me to do this is what you're telling me.
I do.
And keep it
Or,
up.
or say aye.
Or say aye.
I say-
usually do both, aye.
There you go.
Not make this difficult, Mr. Zambrano.
I'm not. I'm just a simple person that doesn't need to do all the extras, but.
And this is not an action item, this is not an action
I'd like
item.
to ask, was there an issue where they didn't know how the trustee was voting?
I think it's just for public, so.
Was
vis-
it brought to the attention of anybody?
I don't-
Oh, you mean in this board?
No, that's state, some she said something just passed.
So
Yeah.
I'd say, was there an issue, because I know that, you know, we have the raise a hand or say the aye.
Uh-huh.
I've never seen or heard, I
But-
guess I'm asking her,
I
as
know.
Monica said, how did the board member vote?
I know last year the lawyer was here for something and she brought to our attention.
Yeah, cause some of y'all don't say anything, or don't. But it's because it's with understanding that if you're not saying anything and you're not opposing, that it's just assumed that.
It's a yes.
That it's a yes.
Was there
So-
an issue?
Just when Leanne brought it up to us last year.
Pero we have, I've never, all the years that I've served, there's never been, what, how did that both, board member vote,
Well,
you know?
uh,
So I
Maybe.
just wondered if that had been an issue.
Not in
Not
this,
here,
not
but
in
it's
this,
a new
yeah.
law. It's a new law from the state of Texas, so we're
That,
just
yeah.
trying to make
It's a
sure.
brand new law?
It's a
Yes.
law, that's,
It's a brand
yeah.
new law from the state of
And
Texas.
just like recording, everyone has to record now. But,
Right.
the next thing is, I did notice that we've been receiving a little few more emails than, you know, so I was going to maybe suggest that we keep it to, maybe receiving them, all the emails until Sunday. You know, maybe, you know, just, you know, the back and forth kind of thing. Just, you know, receive it on Sunday with our board report. 'Cause
Could
sometimes,
I don't get them on Sunday, so I can wait till Monday, I'm okay?
As long as you get it.
oh, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
Oh, well,
because.
let's say- oh, go ahead.
Because I get so many emails, they get lost in, and I, you know, then when I finally get a chance and there's a new one, I'm completely lost and I have to dig through my emails and I don't know what's
What,
Change.
going on.
what emails?
Yeah.
When,
They're saying that
uh,
for me
when-
to only send emails to everyone on Sunday.
when board members request
Me.
Oh.
information, you know,
But what if it's something that you need to let us know?
if it's something urgent,
She'll text us.
she'll let us know immediately. If, for example, and we've defined those emergencies.
Right.
But if it's information such as data or that can wait until Sunday, then I think we can wait till Sunday. If it's not on the agenda, if it's not an emergency item, then it can probably wait till Sunday.
I personally don't mind. I mean, send me all the emails you want to send me, I mean, from superintendent, fine. Now, other board members, you know,
Yeah.
that I can understand that.
Yeah.
Being, waiting till Sunday.
So-
And even with that, I kind of worry, but, you know, that's another topic. I mean, us, you know,
I'm just saying
circulating
because,
emails.
you know, I don't get the information because I'm not checking my emails regularly. So when I do read one, I have to go back and dig through, and that takes me a little bit longer because there are quite a bit of emails,
Really?
yeah.
Wow, I don't get that one.
I don't get that, man.
I get quite a bit. So we're clarifying then that whether it's information on the agenda or.
I'm
This is,
confused.
there's no action today.
No,
Yeah,
no,
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 no.
I'm clarifying, no, I'm not
Yes,
taking it
I'm
back.
just saying, I'm
Clarifying.
just suggesting, if it's not an emergency,
Okay.
such as, you know, and we've defined what emergency is,
Mm-hmm.
and it's not an agenda item, you know, information that we need for a meeting,
Mm-hmm.
then it can wait till Sunday. That's what I'm, you know, that's all I'm saying.
And I guess I'm asking, can you send me emails? That's superintendent, I'm talking about the superintendent. You know, send an email. I check my email every day.
I do too.
Okay. So,
Doesn't matter, however.
so what are we clarifying?
Yeah.
Just we'll receive emails on
On the
Sunday.
weekly board
And I,
update?
yeah,
On the
Is
weekly
that
board
what our
update?
policy says that we only?
I
get on
think
Sunday?
it's communication, I don't,
I believe it says within a reasonable amount of time.
yeah, I believe it's,
I read it.
Because unless, Ms. Torres doesn't mind saying, okay, well, I can send this to Lisa until Sunday, but I can send it to Ms. Casas anytime during the week.
Oh, yes,
But-
during the week, we can ask for it, but.
yeah,
we'll
during the
get
week we can ask for it,
response.
but as far as receiving it,
So that's what I'm saying.
yeah, we can receive it on Sunday.
I will still, if it's an emergency, I mean, if
Yeah.
it's things that we have talked about, you'll get them all week. And most of the time, everybody gets a text and I'll email you, but those I get, I'll do anytime there's emergency. And the principals know when to tell me and I know when to let y'all know.
Well, I mean, you can send me an email whenever you want.
Yeah.
Check them every.
Me too.
So, we're good, okay?
We're good.
Okey-dokey, we will continue, thank you. There are 3 items on the consent agenda: the monthly tax report, the change of board meeting date from October 13th to October 20th of 2025, and the LaFera ISD School Health Advisory Council, the SHAC, for 25-26. And do I have a motion to approve the items listed on the consent agenda?
I make a motion that we approve the items on the consent agenda.
And do I have a second?
Second.
I have a second by Mrs. Portasmo. It's been moved and seconded to approve the items listed on the consent agenda. All those in favor, raise your hand and say aye.
Aye.
Sorry.
All those opposed, same sign. Motion carried 5-0. The first item to consider and possible action, discussion, consideration, and possible action to adopt the 25-26 tax rate and resolution for the 25-26 school year.
Good afternoon, Board President Castillo, board members, Mrs. Torres. Again, just based on the public hearing that we had, what we're bringing forth is a resolution to adopt the 25-26 school year tax rate. And the tax rate again would be for the M&O would be at 0.7495, and the INS ID would be at 0.281183 for a total of $1, 0.030683. Any questions or any comments?
Questions of Mr. Cisneros? Do I have a motion?
Madam President, I move that the property tax rate be increased by the adoption of a tax rate of 1.030683, which is effectively a 17.11% increase in the tax rate.
I have a motion by Mrs. Montalvo, and do I have a second?
A second.
I have a second by Mrs. Johnson. It's been moved and seconded that the property tax rate be increased by the adoption of a tax rate of 1.030683, which is effectively a 17.11% increase in the tax rate. Any further discussion? All those in favor, raise your hand or say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, same sign. Motion carried 5-0. Discussion, consideration, and possible action to approve the tax discount resolution for 25-26.
So this resolution is again so that we can provide to the county tax office. This one we do every year. It's based on our taxpayers, once they get their tax statements for the year, they pay early in October, November, December, they do get a tax refund or a tax discount on their tax payment. For the 3% in October, 2% November, and 1% in December. After that, I think starting in February is when they start accumulating the penalty and interest.
Do I have a motion?
Madam President, I move that we approve the tax discount resolution for 25-2026.
I have a motion by Mrs. Montalvo, and do I have a second?
A second.
I have a second by Mrs. Johnson. It's been moved and seconded to approve the tax discount resolution for 25-26. Any further discussion? All those in favor, raise your hand and say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, same sign. Motion carried 5-0. Next item, discussion, consideration, and possible action to approve the 25-26 campus improvement plans.
Good evening, again, Board President and Board members. So tonight, the principals are here. We have brought the campus improvement plans to you, and the board must approve you've already approved the goals, because they have to have the same goals that we have. And so you approved those in the summer. Now you're approving objectives, and then when you approve the objectives, then they write activities and action plans to decide how to do that. So if you have any questions, we did it electronically this year because last year we gave everybody a set and most people left them here and I felt like that was a whole lot of copies. So we sent them to you electronically. But if you have any questions on any of the campus plans.
I'd just like to hear from each principal, like their areas of concern, which we have, and what activities that you, and you don't have to share a lot, what new activities that you create to implement this year, to hopefully we won't have that area of concern next year.
And we'll start, if you'll come to the podium, we'll start with Mr. Caceres and then we'll just go down. So if Mr. Caceres, you want to say a few words about what you're doing?
Good evening, Board President, Ms. Castillo, Mrs. Torres, and board members. One of the things that we have as a concern at the high school is our reading, writing, but more importantly, our writing compositions. We managed to increase or minimize the amount of zeros that we got, but we're not satisfied with the amount that we have. We still had a high amount of zeros, which means our students are not developing their composition adequately to be able to move from a 0 on. So one of the things that we're going back to is collecting writing samples. Is one of the new activities that we're bringing up this year. We're trying to see if we can include the support that we have for our LEP students, our bilingual, which is kind of where it's hurting us a little bit more. Our special pops, especially. What we see is they have developed a composition that in previous standards was able to meet a 1 or a 2. Unfortunately, now with the new way that the state evaluates the composition, which is now an electronic program, they're not getting those benefit of the doubt that they had the human element before. So one of the things that we're doing to address those is by running them through an AI program. and kind of seeing how that kind of gives us a little measurable or be able to increase the way the state kind of grades those systems. We started a kind of a pilot program in the summer when we had our TSI camps. We ran those compositions that the students were writing for TSI to kind of gauge the program and kind of create a measuring tool to be able to provide support to our teachers and be able to give them kind of some feedback to be able to adjust some of that writing. That is our biggest and newest activity that we're doing. We're doing a few other items for TSI. We're trying to increase our performance in that area. A few other items for but mostly, and the most important one, if we are trying to get to an 8 this school year, it's increasing our writing.
Can you do what, I'm sorry, I was coughing.
Increasing our writing.
Oh, okay, thank you.
Yes. Now, additionally, we wanted to increase some areas in our math and our algebra program, but we are bringing in Blue Bonnet this year with a lot of support from, not only from the state, from Region 1, but then locally here with our own coaches. So we're confident that's gonna help a little bit in that area, and then we're able to emphasize some of our resources into writing.
So by zeroing in on your writing, that should help your English scores go up.
Yes, so we're performing pretty well with our revising and editing portion as well as our reading portion. It is that our scores for the composition, since AI became, it's not an AI program, but it's a computer program that grades the compositions, it has hit us, and it's not just Lafayette ISD or Lafayette High School. It has hit the state of Texas, it has hit the region, but we wanna do better than what everybody is at. So if we wanna get to an A, that is the area that we must improve at least 10% if we wanna make this
When
big.
we get to an A.
We can get there. We're that close.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Cáceres.
David? We'll go from the top.
Good evening, everybody. So one of the things that we saw looking back at our data is that we wanted to be more hands-on in the classroom. We did see the math, we saw the lack of having something structured. Blue Bonnet's done that, teachers have the time to plan. Reading is actually one of our strongest areas in the middle school. So during our PLCs, we've kind of given ownership to our department head and found teachers that wanted to share strategies. So believe it or not, in these 4 weeks, teachers have already shared strategies among each other. We've actually taken a back seat and allowed them to share. And then during our observation, our walkthroughs, they're doing those in gallery walks. The kids are using the verbatim of the English. In science, we pushed less worksheets, more labs. And that's one thing I told the teachers. The kids are gonna learn by experimenting, doing the labs. There's a transition of the TEKS changed. So getting familiar with that, allowing the kids to have fun with the science. And I remember that as a young student. And then in history, doing activities, not just watching a video. So we're doing some little strategies like that just to make it fun for the kids, changing the whole environment, making the school more welcoming. In our PLCs, admin as well, we share. I've assigned every administrator a department. I myself, I'm sitting with the English. I sit with my teachers, I get to hear them. We kind of brainstorm, we come up with ideas. Dr. Ramirez sits with math, with her specialty. She helps internalize the Blue Bonnet curriculum. Ms. Alejandro sits with the history. She shares how to do a class activity. And then Mr. Gallegos, I've gone in there and he's on the board doing the lesson with the science teachers. So we've kind of shared that partnership with our teachers. And that's how we're trying to target, because we tell the teachers, we're an A campus. We tell the students, we're an A campus. We have a campus creed that we read every single day in the mornings in our announcements. And we tell the students, we expect success at WB Green. So it's just changing the whole mentality of the school.
I do have a question, sir, and I'm not asking you to go back and rewrite your campus plan by no means, but I know I saw math across the board, because everybody has adopted the Blue Bonnet. But have you thought, given any consideration to maybe more staff development, either the social studies area or the science area from elsewhere? And I know that means money, and I don't want Alex to have a heart attack, but maybe channeling those funds to that area to not only help you all, you administrators, but have outside help to also help you all.
And
Just
you're
a
right.
consideration, just a consideration.
And you're absolutely right. So on Wednesday, there's actually a Region 1 training for science leads. So Mr. Gallegos and our department head, Ms. Sanchez, are actually going together. So giving that ownership to our department heads to take on leadership roles. So they actually are going to a workshop. We do have history. They actually already signed up for one in September, November, and I believe December. There's a 3-day workshop they will be going. We've got the support from Gear Up, so I'm taking advantage of that. So I'm sending those teachers with Gear Up to get those trainings. So we are looking, last year we sent his, English to, I wanna say right, Taipei, at the island, and they got some strategies. So we were able to improve an excess of students from our bilingual population with the TELPAS. So yes, we look out there, and I always tell teachers, find something, bring it to me, I'll do more research, and we do look for things out there, yeah.
And I love the activity part that you wanna implement.
Yes.
Because, it seems to stick
Mhm.
more.
When it's hands-on.
And when it's hands-on and things like that, because the children remember, you know, that's a helpful remembrance for them.
Yes, ma'am.
So it's better than just, like you said, just reading it out of the book or whatever.
Right.
Good job, sir.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Ms. Rose?
Good evening, Board President, Ms. Otis, board members. So one of the biggest concerns that I have is that we are now having to do science. And as you've seen our track record, you know, with Vail, we've always pushed our academics, you know, our math and our reading. So now we have science, and that's really been something that we've looked at, like how are we going to bring our science up to the expectations that we have, you know, for math and reading. So we've been looking at Region 1, different professional development. I know in the last year, I had asked Mr. Flores, can you send me, I've not done science for over 15 years now, and so I need to get familiarized with that. And so we started that last year, towards the end of the year, started going to Region 1 to see, has the science teaks changed? And so now we're looking to see, there's different PD that's available. And so I already signed up my 5th grade teacher, but also my 3rd and 4th, so that we can support the science starting at the lower grades. And so just looking to see how can we get that science up to where it needs to be. So that's my challenge this year.
I like that you said that, because I know as a 5th grade principal, I would say, they're not helping us down there. And I would complain to them all the time, they're not doing their job, we're doing it all. But I like that you're going to include 3rd and 4th, definitely, to help the 5th grade.
Good job, Mary.
Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am.
Alright, so, good evening, board members. This is my first time I do this.
No se nota,
Our
sir.
challenge is also the same as Ms. Flores. Now we are being held accountable for science, right? So I am doing the same thing. We actually attended a 3D model science academy, which that's what it's called now, where it's called the Phenomena, right? They start in the lab, which is 80% in the lab and 20% in the classroom. So what I did is I have a 3rd and 4th grade science lab and a 5th grade science lab, and I'm expecting them to go in there because, like before, I mean, when I was at Vail, it was the same thing. Like, we hardly ever touched science because it really didn't, you know, help us. But now it will. So now I have to find a way to close that gap from 3rd grade all the way to 5th grade in science. So that's my main focus.
Good job, thank you. Thank you.
Good evening, Board President and board members. I've been fortunate enough to be able to create a team with other administrators, and we get together, we meet, you know, often, and what I like is that we share, you know, the same things with each other and how can we best help our kids. So one of the things, I'm gonna piggyback off of that, is that was one of the things that we all agreed upon, the science. The 5th grade is new for us at the elementary level, and so it's not only geared for 5th grade, we need to help the others. So I myself am sending some teachers as well, 3rd, 4th, and then the 5th to the science workshops. And also the biggest challenge too, but I think that it's gonna come around, is teachers working together with our PLCs. Now that we have this new initiative with Blue Bonnet, it's kind of holding them accountable to plan together, internalize the lessons, and math is one of our weakest areas also. And so this is, I've already heard from them themselves personally, like, this is something that they like and they're getting used to it. because before, you know, yes, you would count on them planning with their team, and sometimes it wasn't, you know, always the best planning, but now that we've kind of distributed the responsibilities between me and the assistant principal, we are able to be in there with them, and we hear what they're going through, and we're there to support them. And with the resources, with PD and all of those things. So I look forward to a great year because I see it. I see the unity, and we all wanna, you know, make sure our kids are successful.
Thank you.
So much. I just want to, I hope you all didn't feel like you were in the firing line. By no means did I want you to feel that way. I'm not up here to tell y'all what to do. That's not my authority, my role as a board member. But I like what I heard right now. I really did. I was kind of concerned. Last night I was reading the campus plan. I was like, what does this say? But hearing you all, we will be an A campus. I know we will. Y'all can do it. Our kids can do it. Our staff can do it. So thank you. Thank you so much for your mini presentations.
Thank you.
Any questions from the board to the principals?
Great job.
Great job, yes. And do I have a motion to approve the campus plans for the 25-26 school year?
Madam President, I moved, we approve the 2025-2026 campus improvement
And
plans.
do I have a second?
I second.
I have a second by Mrs. Johnson. It's been moved and seconded to approve the 25-26 campus improvement plans. Any further discussion? All those in favor, raise your hand or say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, same sign. 5-0, motion carried. Discussion, consideration, and possible action to approve a resolution related to establish the district's intention to join the Texas Educational Employers Benefit Cooperative. Long sentence.
Good evening. This is the way we're bringing to you. It's so the district will be part of the Texas Educational Employers Benefit Cooperative. So as y'all know, back in, I think it was at the last board meeting in June, we had a special call where we approved our new third-party administrator, First Financial Group of America. So they're the ones that are gonna administer all of our employee benefits, right? So they're actually gonna be doing open enrollment starting tomorrow. They're gonna be out here for the next 2 weeks, enrolling everybody, so everybody has to enroll in person. So all those benefits are 100% voluntary, and they are 100% paid by our employees. For those that want to add benefits like, you know, dental, vision, an additional life insurance, things like that. There is one benefit that the district does pay for the employees, and that's the life insurance. So all of our full-time employees, they have a $5,000 life insurance policy that we give them, and that's through Reliance Standards. So the district, what it was costing the district was $6.84 per employee for the whole year, which is about 57 cents per month. Now that we went with a new provider, they went out for bid, and I ended up getting a really good bid, which is from Blue Cross Blue Shield of Texas. And what they're offering is to provide a life insurance policy for all of our employees of $20,000 at 96 cents per month. So that would cost the district about $11.52 per year per employee. So right now we pay about $3,400 for the whole year. For all our employees, it would go up to about $5,700. So as a district, it would be more about $2,300, which, you know, we thought, I discussed it with Ms. Torres, I thought it was a no-brainer just because, you know, this insurance unfortunately will get used at probably the worst moment possible, right? One of our employees passes away, or they have significant dismemberment of some type. But having heard that, and, you know, all of us have gone through some type of, you know, family member loss and funeral costs, even with cremation, I think they can get upwards of $10,000. So we thought, you know, this would be a good benefit for us to provide to our employees at a relatively low cost. But in order for us to accept Blue Cross Blue Shield's offer, we do have to be part of the Texas Educational Employers Benefit Cooperative. So I don't know if there's any questions on the benefit or about joining the co-op.
Do I have a motion?
Madam President, I move we approve the resolution related to establish the district's intentions to join the Texas Educational Employers Benefit Cooperative
I have a motion by Mrs. Johnson, and do I have a second?
I second.
I have a second by Mrs. Montalvo. It's been moved and seconded to approve the resolution related to establish a district intended to enjoy the Texas Educational Foreign Benefits Cooperative. Any further discussion? All those in favor, raise your hand or say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, same sign. Motion carries 5-0. Before I close the meeting, I'd like to thank the principals for attending voluntarily. Also, I do want to commend you, Mrs., I'm going to call you Mrs. Gale. No. Mrs. Flores for being back-to-back, A campus. A little word told me that last week in swimming class. Yeah. I wonder who? And obviously the A campuses, and congratulations, and hopefully we can make it a, what is it, a doubleheader, a 3P? And hopefully we'll get you up there too, sir, with everything you're doing. Okay, and of course you too, Mr. Gaston. So once again, thank you for coming. Okay, it is now 7:06 p.m. and we're moving into closed meeting pursuant to Texas Government Code Chapter 551. Still up, G. It is now 7:29 p.m. and we're now reconvening to open session. Let the record show that the superintendent approved the resignations of the following: Lynette Chirinos and Jose Sepulveda. Are there any motions?
Madam President, I move to approve a 1-year non-certified probationary contract to Ruth Martinez pending required documents.
Do I have a second?
I second.
I have a motion by Mrs. Montalvo and a second by Mrs. Johnson. All those in favor, raise your hand and say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, same sign. Motion carries 5-0. District announcements.
Yes, September 11th through the 14th, you all have the TASB conference, board conference in Houston. On the 16th of September, you have Stay Connected Initiative.
It's the 17th, I'm sorry, that was my mistake.
The 17th?
Yes, ma'am.
Stay Connected Initiative with Administration and Board at Sam Houston Elementary. Early Childhood Parent Night at La Feria Early College High School on the 29th of September. Staff Professional Development Day, the 19th and the 22nd. Also on the 22nd, we have District Planning Committee training at 5:30. And then we'll have a cyberbullying Kids Keep Safe parent meeting on the 30th of September.
Any questions of Mrs. Ramos? If there is no other business, have a motion to adjourn. A motion by Mr. Zambrano. Have a second? And
Second.
a second by Mrs. Montalvo. It is now 7:31 p.m. and this meeting is adjourned.
Thank you.
Thank you.